if you don't want to sit in the back, you can also take your chair and bring it there. There's also some space.
Welcome everybody. I think there is very nice atmosphere already, so I keep it very simple. So thank you for coming to teach us and enjoy this weekend.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone. It's nice to be back and see some familiar faces and some new faces. And I guess you are all interested in working differently with difficult feelings. And that's what we are going to explore this weekend. And I particularly would like to refer to anxiety. What would be a good word for anxiety? Finnish word. It's not fear. It's also fear, but it's very. What would be a word for that? Okay. Yeah. And today I would like to share with you two different practices which I found particularly helpful in the last 10 years. And the first one is the practice of compassionate abiding, which is a practice I've learned from Pema Chodron, the American nun. I spent a few months in Gampo Abbey many years ago. And the other practice is a practice, it's called the RAIN practice, or the RAIN model, which is taught by different teachers, but I have been experimenting or working with it, particularly in the way Tara Brach is teaching the RAIN model. And Tara Brach is a teacher of the insight meditation tradition. And so these are the two practices I would like to explain today and also practice with you, guide you. And they are very similar, so they describe a similar process of relating to anxiety. And to make this day meaningful, I encourage you to bring really your personal pain into this day, so that you feel that you bring that which you. Yeah, I mean, we all have that period, that area in our life which is difficult, where we almost feel it's too much, where we feel maybe helpless, or we have tried different ways, but nothing really worked. So, and that can be anything. So, I will refer to anxiety, but you can replace it with depression or physical pain or the broken heart or some wounds you carry in your soul, which you have been with since a long time. So, and I invite you to make this day meaningful, to really bring this into this day and just see what happens throughout the teachings and throughout the meditations, so that you might pick up a few helpful things, just some helpful tools, or a helpful idea, or a helpful word where you feel, this gives me a bit more space. This gives me a bit, this gives me a bit more softness, a bit more peace. And of course, these practices, they are practices. So what that means is, we are not going to solve or fix anything this weekend. This is not how it works. You will never go to anything like a weekend or something, and then something happens, and so these are practices. So that means if there's something useful here today and tomorrow, then it's your responsibility or your job to take these tools and practice, probably for the rest of your life. And beyond. So I hope I will say something, at least one thing which is useful for you, so that you this evening you feel, yeah, that's something I take with me. That's something I'm going to experiment or play with. And if not, then I will try to make it a bit entertaining as well, so you at least don't feel that you have wasted your time. Yeah, so let's take a few minutes to just sit quietly together, as a way of creating space and sliding into this day. And first, you adjust your posture. So you allow your body to settle without being stiff or strict with yourself. And then if you like, you can close your eyes. And you allow this shift to happen from the busyness of arriving meeting new people, so there's a shift from the head, being in the head, being in the thoughts, to dropping into your body. So I invite you to feel your posture, your feet and your legs. your belly. And this is a gesture of welcoming. You meet yourself like you would meet a friend. And noticing your hands. And the breath. And what we explore here is what happens if you allow this moment to be. If you welcome yourself as you are. So we are not trying to calm down or to feel more relaxed. So what we explore here is very radical. It's letting go of the control freak. And giving yourself a hug. So if there's a meditator taking control, then as best as you can, you let go of the meditator. And you just be with what is. And nothing is excluded. And of course, thoughts continue to arise, and that's fine. But the invitation is to emphasize them less. So you emphasize the sensations in your belly and in your hands, and the breath. And then you open all senses and you meditate like the blue sky outside, giving space, letting things be, doing nothing. And then when you notice that you emphasize the stories, the dialogue, the judgments, unhook yourself from that and drop back into your hands, into your belly. Being here in this moment where you have everything you need, and where there's nothing to do. most important ingredients here is friendliness, maitri. So if there is some discomfort, tiredness or restlessness or sadness, what we explore is when you say yes, when you take it into your arms. When you breathe into. Then even if you are somewhat agitated or tired or anxious or bored, what we can appreciate is that there is also stillness, that there's a presence, a field of presence which arises when we sit quietly together in the spirit of kindness, protected by the presence of the Buddha. And there's this gesture, this move of returning, dropping back into the body. Not out of discipline, not with concentration, but for the love of it. And if there's something coming to the foreground, be it pleasant or unpleasant, we allow that to happen. Touching gently, holding softly with our awareness, whatever arises. The heart like the sky. Heart like the sky. returning and resting. Being present, as if being present to someone you really love, to your child, to your partner, and here you're present to yourself. With that same loving gaze, with that same kindness, and also the awe. And then opening like the sky. Then the possibility of appreciating the stillness which is already always here, always there. A spacious presence. Which we share, a heart space. Pervading your whole body from the toes to the top of your head. Like sitting in the sun. And returning and resting. Heart like the sky. Nothing is excluded. You can't do this wrong. I would like to start with a quote by Pema Chodron. It's from a book where she gives a commentary on the Bodhisattvavatara by Shantideva, the Bodhisattva's ways of life. So she says, Bodhisattvas practice in the middle of the fire. So Bodhisattvas, so Bodhi means awakening, Sattvas means being. So a Bodhisattva is describing a person who has this longing for healing and wholeness, and who has this longing of bringing forth her qualities and her creativity into the world to be of service, to contribute, to make the place where you live, the relationship you have, a better place, a better relationship, a better family. So it is seeking this longing for that healing, longing for home, not only for your own benefit, but because something in you has understood that genuine happiness, true happiness, and the possibility to die without regret depends on how much you dare to love. So bodhisattvas practice in the middle of the fire. And that's of course crazy. Because when there's fire in our life, when there's fire in our emotions, everything in us says, run! So the practice of the bodhisattva is counter-instinctual. Your instinct says, run, get drunk, take a pill, go to the fridge, switch this on, whatever this is, go shopping, try to fix, try to control, try to get rid of. So that's what our culture tells us. That's what we learned, and that's what we're addicted to. And that's what probably most people first expect meditation also to be, just another tool of not being in the fire, getting out of the fire. So it's kind of a disappointment or a shock sometimes to realize that Buddhist meditation is actually a path towards being human. It's not about transcending being human, but towards being more human and increasing your capacity to experience what it means to be human. The word bodhisattva also has this connotation that she is a warrior, a true warrior, not fighting the outside enemies, but facing the inside demons, so that you stop to project them outside. So it is that kind of, in this term of bodhisattva, there is this kind of courage. So you're cultivating this courage of, when there is fire, instead of running, to slow down. To slow down, to touch, to hold, to stay. And the two practices which we're going to explore today, they are steps in this process of slowing down and looking deeply and touching that which hurts you, because you have understood that what you want to heal, you need to touch. Nothing heals through ignoring or trying to look into the other direction or suppressing or numbing. So you should get a bit afraid now. Otherwise you don't understand what I'm saying. And of course, again, this is a practice, and you take your time, the time you need. But it is so deeply ingrained in us to, as soon as there is some discomfort, to turn away, to distract ourselves. So this is really like rewiring ourselves to another direction, towards that which is difficult. And for that we need support. We need to support each other. And you need to understand that it is meaningful to do that, because your culture might say, this is stupid, take a pill. So and then of course with your own, by leaning into this kind of practices, having your own experiences, then you start to trust more. You start to trust more the power of love, the power of the loving gaze, the power of the loving touch, the power of presence. The power of stillness. Bodhisattvas practice in the middle of the fire. This means that they enter into the suffering of the world. Are you still in? This is the Mahayana path. And it's crazy. But somehow we can't help ourselves. That's why you are here. Something in you has already responded to that seed of compassion, to that seed that seed of kindness. So this means that they enter into the suffering of the world. This is really very different than the liberation which seeks the freedom of suffering, the transcending of being human. This is really different than wanting to go to heaven and leave everything behind. This means that they enter into the suffering of the world. It also means they stay steady with the fire of their own painful emotions. It also means they stay steady with the fire of their own painful emotions. So it's turning towards that which we as individuals, but also as a whole culture, want to avoid. Understanding that by doing so, you make a contribution, you give a gift to the people around you. By increasing your capacity to be lovingly present to your own wounds you carry in your heart, you increase your capacity to do that, to share that with the people around you. Or to the extent you can be human with yourself, you can be human with others. And this is the most beautiful gift we can give to other people, that presence, that human presence, which says, I'm here with you. Whatever it is, I'm here with you. I'm willing to touch anything. I'm not afraid of your sadness, because I can hold it in me. I can be with it in me. This is very different than trying to fix and control others. Oh, I can't be with my fear, so I have to try to fix your fear. And again, our instinct says something else. Oh, there is a difficult emotion. Let's fix that. Let's control that. Let's give some advice. They stay steady with the fire of their own painful emotions. And I'm sorry to say, it's going to stay like that. It's going to stay to be difficult. So I'm sorry to say that I'm not going to teach you how to get rid of anxiety, because it's not going to happen. So what we are going to explore is how to relate differently to anxiety. Because I will feel anxiety on and off, almost every day for the rest of this life. So I will say that again. You don't need to repeat. I'm just saying, I'm talking about myself. Yeah? I'm talking about myself here. I will experience anxiety on and off almost every day for the rest of this life. Ah, what a relief. And the relief comes from this letting go of this sense that there's something wrong, that it shouldn't be like that, that I just haven't, that I just didn't get it. I didn't read the right book, I haven't done the right course, but there must be something out there which when I find it finally, I will be free of anxiety. And it's a relief to just say, no, that's not going to happen. So we love. We will continue to worry about the people we care about and love. For example. So what is more interesting for me now is using these two methods. Can be there actually something good in it? Can I grow with it? Can I use sadness and anxiety, use is not a good word, relate to it in a way that it makes me grow? Because that's what I long for my life is for, to grow, to open, to become bigger, to increase my capacity to be present. So if that is if this is what my life is about, if my life is not about anymore how can I have a comfortable life, how can I have good feelings every day, how can I have nice experiences, if my life is not anymore about that, so if my life becomes an invitation, a possibility, an exploration of the big heart, of the great heart, of manifesting love as much as possible, then how can I relate and explore and learn from depression, anxiety, the broken heart, the childhood trauma, and grow from it? They stay steady. That's a meditation instruction. So to stay steady with the fire of your painful emotions, to stay steady. They neither act them out nor repress them. So that's particularly interesting. This instruction is particularly interesting with anger. Neither acting out nor repressing. Or desire, neither acting out nor repressing. Or anxiety, acting out anxiety would be not to do what you're afraid of. then anxiety becomes a problem. Anxiety itself is not a problem. The problem is when it starts to make your life smaller because you stop to do the things which you are supposed to do. And you end up in bed because you're afraid. Repressing would be to deny, or to take pills, or to get drunk, or to smoke, or to avoid, to pretend that you're not afraid, to find excuses, to procrastinate, not to do the things because you're afraid of them, but not even admitting that you're afraid. That's why you're not doing it. They are willing to stay on the dot and explore an emotion's ungraspable qualities and fluid energies. So they are willing to stay on the dot. Well, that's like the meditation posture. It's like this really powerful gesture of sitting down. Right there, in the middle of the fire, on the dot. With the commitment of staying with whatever arises. And then, so you stay on the dot, and you explore an emotion's ungraspable quality and fluid energies. So that's part of this process, of these two processes. So you slow down, you stay, and then you look deeply. You look deeply into the nature of your emotions. What are they? Looking deeply. Vipassana. Insight meditation. And we will talk about this, how to do it, and also why we would do it, and what happens then. What happens if you actually lean into the sharp edges of life and you look deeply into your feelings? What are you going to find? Before we do that, because we are afraid to look, we have a sense what we are going to find is like a demon, something which will overwhelm us, which will destroy us, which is really harmful, which is poisoning. So we are not looking, we are not looking under the bed, because we are so afraid to see the demon there. So now the question is, what is happening if you actually look? You take the cover and you look. Anxiety, you look. So instead of having fear of the fear, you take the cover and you look down. What are you going to see there? And to let that experience link them to the pain and courage of others. And to let that experience link them to the pain and courage of others. So by looking into your anxiety, by looking into your pain, you're looking into our pain. This is not a private trip. It's not your depression, it's not your anxiety, it's not your childhood trauma, it's our. So every journey of healing, every journey of growing, which might start off with this, it's about me, it's about my depression, it's about my anxiety, it's about my problem, starts to become a contribution. You start to see, I'm not wasting my time in crisis. I'm not wasting my time when my life falls apart. I'm doing that for everyone. Because we are not separate from each other. So those people who are in crisis, they, and if you're in crisis, and we all will be in crisis, things fall apart. The things where we feel safety, the things where we feel it's going well, they will fall apart. So learning to see crisis not as a problem, but as a period of healing, or a period of growth, a period of contribution. That would be so beautiful if that could be an attitude towards crisis in a society, in an individual, towards your friends. Not thinking that they waste their time and they should get over it. Get over it, man. You should be more productive. But you are productive in the sense of growing, in the sense of learning, in the sense of being human. So that is the link to the Mahayana motivation, to the altruistic intention. That you're on this path of exploration and you're learning these methods, of course as part of your own journey, but your own journey is a contribution. Everything, every step you do, deeper understanding of anxiety, deeper understanding of your own pain, that's something you immediately can share with the people around you who are just the same. So that's the bodhisattva attitude. The bodhisattva practice in the middle of the fire. They take their seat in the middle of the fire for the benefit of their relationships. For the benefit of your children. Which are everyone. But let's start with one. 2. And then even the ants. So one more point, and then we have a break, and then we will start with these 2 practices. So the second point I want to make before we look into this is in the Tibetan tradition there are like two different views or two different paradigms to work with feelings, difficult feelings. And these two views you can call the progressive view or the developmental view. That's the first view. And the second view you can call the resultant view or the fruitional, from fruit, fruitional view, the tantric view. So two different perspectives, two different views, two different paradigms. And the developmental view, or the progressive view, says something like, you're not there yet, you have the potential and there's seeds, but there's a path and there's methods, and you go step by step by step by step, and then in a few million years you are there. Whatever there is. So that would be nirvana or heaven in Christianity, or maybe you have a bit more modest goal, like being more relaxed, being more peaceful. But it's not happening now. But if you do it right, if you are a good boy and a good girl, and you do all this stuff, purification, accumulating of merit, or in psychotherapy, working with these methods, then in the end there will be the reward. And that makes sense, of course, that view. It makes sense in our culture. You know, we are believers in progression and going somewhere, and it's always getting better, and there's growth, and everything is possible. Science will make it possible. We just need to wait a few more years, and then they will find a medication for that, what we have. So there is, and of course we have experiences that some of the things we do to get better, that they work. And you find that idea not only in Buddhism, but also in other spiritual traditions. That there is a ground, and then there is a path. So the ground is where you start. This is here. And then there's a path, and there's methods, and there's steps. The 7 steps of this, 16 of that, 7 steps to be free of fear, 6 skills of successful people, and then you learn that, and then you will be there. So the other view, the tantric view, or the resultant view, the fruitional view, says that everything we need to be whole, to be complete, to be content, to be home, is available to us in this moment. And the practice is to recognize that. And the practice is to recognize that in short moments. In short moments, repeated again and again, so that they become longer stretches, that they become continuous. It's a bit like using the metaphor of the clouds and the sky, which is in the Tibetan tradition a common metaphor to describe this. So the progressive view says, oh, we need to do something with the clouds. They need to go so that the blueness of the sky can shine. There's obstacles. There's obstacles to freedom. There's obstacles to peace. And that's the clouds. And then when the clouds are removed, the boundless heart, your Buddha nature, peace, can radiate, can shine. So the resultant view, the tantric view, says, oh look, there's the sky. Don't bother about the clouds. The sky is untouched, doesn't care. It's already perfect, it's already there, completely. The open heart is already available. Look at that. In these moments of feeling connected, these moments of opening, of course, this breaks into our life. Even without, being spiritual or practicing, or that's why you have all these houses in the forest. So you go there, and the contracted state of being busy and worrying and being competitive and trying to be productive, it loses its grip a bit. It's just like, yeah. So these moments are already happening, and of course they are happening, because the possibility of that experience is inborn. It is indestructible. That's your default state. So it will always happen that if there's a lot of clouds in your life and you bring yourself into the right conditions and you have the right support, that you will have experiences like that. It will win. The sky will win, because the sky is real and the clouds are transitory, temporary, and not really serious. So these are the two views, and in the Tibetan tradition, different lineages, they emphasize different views. It's present in all the four lineages, but the different lineages, they emphasize either the resultant view or the progressive view. And what I like to do is to combine, to do both. Getting there by being there. Practicing progressive methods, but in the same time to be open to glimpses of openness, of peace, of connectedness, in the midst of the catastrophe of your life. In the midst of the mess. In the midst of all this unsolved stuff. So is it possible to slide into a place of true peace in the midst of all this unsolved stuff of your life? Yes, definitely. And you never will solve it. It's childish to think I will somehow succeed to solve all the problems, all the challenges, because there will be a damn challenge just the next moment. It's just one damn problem after another. So if we continue to insist, I need to solve this, I need to solve that, I need to heal this, I need to work with that, I need to be better at this, I need to be more this, more that. This is a never-ending project. The progressive approach is a never-ending project. It can be quite heavy if one is completely locked into the progressive path. It's like, wow. So there, to find that opening again and again of, okay, there's definitely room for improvement, but at the same time, I'm already there. There's definitely room for improvement, but somehow I'm already perfect. I can relax. I'm already home. It's not getting really, it's not getting better, because I'm already there. But then, of course, again and again, I lose that sense. I lose the experience of being already home. I lose that sense of being already there. So how can I make that journey from feeling really contracted and resisted and complaining and poor me and this should happen to me and I wish it wouldn't happen and I wish I would have a different childhood and I wish I would have studied something else, and I wish I would live in Barcelona. Yeah. So then, okay, how can I move out of that? And of course, it's a trip. It's a mind. It's a fantasy. It's completely, yeah. But that creates a way of being in the world. That's my experience. So how can I move a bit towards recognizing that the progressive path, any progressive method, will not bring me closer to home because I'm already there? So then having steps like these 4 steps, which we will look at. So that's like that journey from deconstructing the illusion that you are missing something. Deconstructing the illusion that there is something in the future which you don't have, that might be an insight, a spiritual realization, that might be a husband. So believing that, or a job, or a flat, or more sunshine, or whatever. So believing that there is something in the future which you have not gotten yet, but once you've get it, then you're there. So the four steps we will go through, they combine this progressive developmental way to relate to your experience, but they also contain that shift from the progressive view into the fruitional view, into the resultant view. And what I also hope is that within this today and tomorrow, that we start to appreciate those two views, and we don't see them as contradictory. No, there is this tendency of traditions who are very much in the progressive developmental view to look down upon the resultant view. And there's also the tendency from the people who are practicing in the more resultant view to look down upon the people who are on the progressive path. But then to experience how these two views, how they belong together, and how they support each other. So that we don't become fundamentalists. Okay, so let's have a break, and then we will look into the two practices.